What's going on, everybody out there? This is Popular Stranger, and we are back at you again today with another Madden 21 video. We got a lot to talk about tonight. This is the first of many videos. I don't know how many are coming, but we got a lot of new information about Madden 20 gameplay, all types of new mechanics, features, things that they tried to fix that were pain points in Madden 20, and like I said, we got a lot of videos coming. So this video specifically is going to focus on defense, and even more specifically on run defense. So I got a couple notes here, just things that we are going to talk about in this video, but most of the video is going to be clipped from tonight's live stream with Kralo and Clint Oldenburg, so you guys can hear the words from their mouths. You're going to see actual gameplay footage. We're going to talk about, new features, things that they try to address. So the first video is focusing on the run defense. If you played Madden 20 at this point, you know Madden 20, the run game was OP from start to finish, all year long. The Madden Bowl champion Joke won the Madden Bowl without passing the football once. So that's how bad the run game was. So a few highlights here is that they definitely focused on fixing run fits and force defenders. A big problem with Madden 20 run game was pursuit angles. The defenders, they just never went towards the ball carrier. They always seemed out of position, and it was very, very easy to just maneuver around them without much effort. That mixed with solid blocking just made outside runs really, really good. So they mentioned that they fixed the pursuit angles. That's something I'm really happy about. A lot of the outside runs are going to be played better. Outside linebackers, guys whose job it is to protect that outside of the field in the run game, they think, or they say, that they're going to be more aware in these situations. Of course, all this time will only tell. When we get to actually play the game, there is a beta that's going to be coming, and at some point tonight I'll drop a video on what you need to know about the beta. Once we actually play it, it actually has to work. These are all words and bullet points and things, and it sounds good. Hopefully it works. We'll have to wait and see. So they talk about that. They talk about better anticipation from defenders in run plays. Another thing that to talk about that I'm really, really happy about is, people would flip their plays 6, 7, 8 times before snapping the ball to try to get the defense caught up in a situation where you could take advantage of them. Now, if you flip the play more than 2 times in a single play, your offensive line may jump off sides. They're going to become fatigued. They're probably going to mess up. So I think that's a really, really nice addition. And then there's a whole bunch of new tackling animations and location-based tackles and just things focused on, defenders making better tackles. So that's mostly what we're talking about or seeing in this video. Enjoy the rest of the stream. Let me know how you feel about it down below in the comment section.
I know, like last year, run defense, run defense at the end of the day, the run game meta, there was a lot of conversation around that. And I do want to go ahead and talk about that and lead into that. What are we doing in Madden 21 when it comes down to the run game?
Yeah, so we did a lot of things, and it really revolves around our defensive gaps and run fit system, with a specific focus on force defenders and, hammer and fill players in that run fit system. Simply put, Madden 20, it was too hard to stop the run for a lot of players, and a lot of players relied on it because it was the safest thing to do. So we did a number of things. They're all outlined in the blog that we're going to be releasing later. I'm going to talk about a few of those things. First of all, relative to the force players, the force defenders, what we did with them is it's all about pursuit and anticipation and making them get wide enough to actually set that edge. That's the force player's primary job against the run game, is to set the edge. So I'm just going to go down the list here of a few things there. Force defenders who are on the line of scrimmage when the ball is snapped, they're going to use wider angles at the start of the play, and they're going to show more anticipation and better pursuit prediction about where the ball carrier is going to go to set the edge, especially versus outside running plays. We're also going to have force players using better anticipation and better angles at the start of the play when facing specifically quick hitting plays that are hitting the outside, such as jet sweep and touch pass, so that they'll get better position to keep him inside and force him where their help is, which is the inside of the defense. And then we also updated some alignments in some of the base formations, such as 3-4, so that the force player on the line of scrimmage is aligned wider by default, so he doesn't get reached by the end man blocker quite as easily. And then if we move over to the hammer and fill players, who are the defenders who are responsible for the gap or gaps inside of the force player against outside run, really the story there is last year they got kind of caught up in traffic a little too much and weren't really helpful when the force player was able to force the ball carrier back inside. Now they're going to have a little bit wider gap integrity and they're taking wider initial pursuit angles at the beginning of the play. That's going to help them get over the top of traffic more. The best way to describe it's a little bit more of a conservative pursuit angle at the start of the play, but conservative kind of has a negative connotation. So what it is really is a smarter angle, anticipating the width of the back on those outside running plays. And then if we go down into blocking interactions, we do have some new and improved blocking interactions where defenders are going to disrupt running lanes by pushing blockers into the backfield at the appropriate angles. And defenders are also going to have better anticipation for the ball carrier's movement when they're coming out of block. So when they hit that block shed animation, the angle at which they exit is going to be relative to where they think the ball carrier is going to be. So there's going to be less room to run both inside and outside the tackles.
Okay. So one of the things too regarding all that, regarding the run defense, there's last year where there was a lot regarding, audibles and play flips. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? I know we talked about that, earlier in some of our other meetings, but I know from the community perspective, that was one of the pain points last year.
Yeah, as we kind of broke down everything that was going on with the run game last year, one of the things that really showed up a lot was this spamming of audibles and flipping plays in pre-play by the offense, just until they'd flip plays as many times as they could until they got an advantageous look in the run game. More blockers on one side than the defense had defenders to that side of the center. So what we're doing this year to get a better run pass ratio is after your second audible or play flip in pre-play, the offensive line is going to be more likely to commit a false start. And this is going to be used on all game styles besides arcade. So it is active on competitive, is active on simulation. But on that third audible or flip play, the chance to get a false start kicks in, and then each corresponding one thereafter, that chance of a false start significantly increases. And the idea behind that is just simulating. And I can tell you this as an offensive lineman myself, if I'm down in my stance and the quarterback changes the play 7 times, it's pretty likely I'm going to get a little bit confused and maybe false start occasionally. That's the inspiration behind this. There has to be some risk to that kind of behavior, and that's what this is. So it's introducing the idea to bring some strategic decision making to when you want to use those flip plays and audibles. Okay. In pre-play.
Good stuff, man. I know tackling was one of the things that we also there was a lot of sentiment and feedback regarding that, right? Tackling, whether it was open field tackles or tackling in general. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the tackling improvements coming to Madden 21?
Yeah, so everyone saw in our reveal trailers, they saw the breakdown tackles and they saw the pylon tackles, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, but we didn't just do that. We did some more stuff to some of our legacy tackling systems. And, just like the run fits, tackling is a very important part to stopping the run. So similar to what I talked about earlier with the defensive lineman shedding blocks more intelligently around the angle of the running back, defenders out in open space are also going to be more aware when they're near the ball carrier, especially versus like impact blocks. Some of the things that we saw last year is when a defender would get impact blocked, but he was very near the ball carrier, sometimes he wouldn't react soon enough to that nearby ball carrier and you could just run right by him. So now, no matter what point at which that animation starts for that impact block, he's going to be able to break out seamlessly to tackle the ball carrier. And then we also did some work to hit sticks and dive tackles to make them a little bit more accessible and functional. That comes together with our new breakdown tackles for a little bit more user-friendly experience. What we did there is basically you're going to feel your momentum respected a little bit. For example, dive tackles, a lot of times you would dive from behind the ball carrier and you felt like you were in range or gaining ground to make that tackle, and you would just lose your momentum and kind of fall over. So you're going to continue that momentum through, and if you are actually gaining ground on the ball carrier, you're going to get at least a successful tackle attempt on that ball carrier.
Yeah, and right now what I'm doing is I'm playing a clip, and it's actually from the deep dive trailer where it's a breakdown tackle with Lamar Jackson, and these are things that you guys may have seen, and we're kind of providing some context right there. I did show the Lamar image. I'll go ahead and show that again, Clint, because you referenced it. That was all related to location-based tackling. But I think you also see that in our video that we have in the premiere, which was right here that I'm showing kind of the audiences right now if they've not seen it. But all these things that we're referencing right now are related to a lot of that stuff. Also, there was I think you'll see the clutch stops, the realistic open tackles that Clint, you've been talking about in that regard. So I'm just kind of cycling through these clips right now. For those people that may have not seen this, they're new to this specific stream or checking it out. Again, I'm going to go ahead and showcase exactly what you were talking about from the gameplay perspective on the break game tackles.
We could touch on some of that deeper information on the location-based tackles too, which is what we refer to as pylon tackles.
Yeah, let's do that.
Pylon tackles is the most natural one because that's the most exciting play when the ball carrier is intelligent enough to reach for that pylon when he's in range to score a touchdown. But these are actually location-based tackles, what we're talking about, and they can trigger at the pylon, the goal line, the first down sticks, even the sideline. And what I really want to make clear to our players is this isn't an actual button mechanic. This is going to be driven primarily by ratings and then abilities thereafter. And the ratings that we're using to determine those outcomes and those interactions around reaching or failing to reach if the defender wins is the defensive tackle rating plus awareness versus the ball carrier vision rating plus awareness. So that's the matchup of those ratings. It's going to determine these outcomes on these. And really, I got to tell you, the Madden dev team's really excited about this feature. These have kind of bubbled up through our play testing as one of the favorites. People see these and they kind of geek out a little bit because they're really cool and they make our players, feel alive, feel very smart about where they are on the field.
Okay, good stuff.